Work?
Yeah, I got both of you in the shot.
Okay. Push.
Let me get off the stage.
Tell me when it's running.
It's running. It's a red dot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to Empower Plus Virtual Communications, the ultimate educational broadcasting network. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a longtime friend of mine, to say the least. Brother, New York Times bestseller, one of New York Times bestseller authors, has written over 25 novels and fictions throughout his career. He is now working on a monumental project, the autobiography of Mayor Marion Barry. So I would like all of you to welcome Mr. Omar Tyree.
All right, partner.
How you doing, Mr. Tyree?
I'm doing great.
Here we are in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Martin Luther King Library.
Martin Luther King Library
have a whole lot of chairs. You guys can't see it, but we're going to shoot some of it later. A whole lot of chairs set up in here for a lot of people to come out. So I'm going to see if they can pull them out to really see the impact of the man.
And I'm sure they will, because I was kind of surprised when we walked in the room to see it was prepared for you and the mayor to sit here in this symposium today.
Right.
Congratulations again, to say the least. You and my last, I guess what the audience does not know is that you and I have had a relationship for some 40 some odd years.
Yeah.
We were childhood friends, and I remember Omar always as an individual that was observant. You know, and as we got matured and got older, it was amazing to see all of the impactful incidences and things that were meaningful to you come out in your writings.
Right.
Is that where you found your muse?
Well, you know, I was one that had a whole lot of knowledge. I tell people all the time that, you know, I was the oldest child of a mother of 8 children who was the oldest of 8. My father was the oldest of 4. And so I was in a family where I was around a whole lot of people that were older than me, but I was almost treated like an adult. And so when you're in that position as the firstborn of the next generation, I mean, the whole world is just opened up to you as an oyster. And so I was always around stories, and I always had confidence to listen to stories and to tell stories. And then I loved going to the movies, you know. So when I was up there in Mount Airy, we met each other and grew up for the last 40 years. I used to go to the Cheltenham Twin, and as many movies as they had, I would watch all of them.
That's right. That's right.
So I had that amazing attention span to continue to listen to stories, break down stories, and then later on, of course, I got a chance to tell my own story. And so there was a knack and a skill that I had that I didn't want to waste. A lot of times we end up with folks that, you know, do the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing.
Right.
And I wasn't going to be one of those. I knew I had a skill and I wanted to use it.
You know, what was amazing to me was when we all dispersed and went our different ways on our educational quest. You ended up in Pittsburgh, right?
Right.
Right, you was at the University of Pittsburgh, and there you said, I remember reading something years ago that stated that you had a monumental moment where they made comment about why would you write about black athletes or the impact of athletes at that time.
Right.
Was that the first time that you saw yourself as an inspirational writer?
Not really. I started writing, we had a quest program where they invited 30 African Americans, 15 boys, 15 girls, to do a program prior to college. And so as soon as we graduated from school, I never remember, I got out of school at Central High School on June the 17th, Wednesday, graduated. And I had to report to college on Friday the 19th. And I was pissed off, man, because your whole summer is going, you going to school already.
Hey, well,
so I said, look, man, I'm cool with August, but I'm not going to school in June. And so when we got up there, all of us students were mad that we had to give our summer away for college, but they only lasted for about a day. Once we understood we were in school and we had our own dorms, we in another city.
Whole nother lifestyle.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, well, you know, that experience, you know, some people are professional college students. I mean, I love the camp life. I love being a part of that educational component.
So at that point, we had, you know, tests for reading and math levels. And so during that summer break, 6 weeks we had in the Quest program, they wanted us to write about who we were, where we came from, our hobbies and that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, you want me to write about Philadelphia? You want me to write about West Philly and Germantown and the parties and football? I said, oh boy. And so when I got a chance to do that, they wanted us to share those stories and read them in front of the classroom to see what kind of confidence you have in your own work. And man, I blew them away. And so from that point on, they were like, hey, man, we want you to write a student diary. And so I ended up writing the diary of a freshman where all the other college students, black college students, were reading at the University of Pittsburgh. And that had my confidence sky high freshman year. Wow. And so I will, you know.
You were impactful in your speech class and your writing class early on.
Yeah.
Were you ever a poet? Did you ever write poetry?
Yeah, we had poetry class too, you know, feature writing class. We had short stories, you know, we had character development. And so I did all those classes my freshman year at Pittsburgh.
And your major was at that time?
Major was pharmacy.
Right, because if my mind correct, you didn't go into writing literature or English. You were trying to go into medicine at that time.
Well, I wanted to play football. We grew up, you know, you played for the Bantams and you played for the Findlay Blue Devils. I played for the Wildcats. We was a football territory.
Totally.
During that time in the 70s and early 80s, we were football crazy.
We were.
And so I
had good tutors and mentors around us.
Yeah.
You know, we had excellent programs. I often used the term poor little rich kids.
Yeah.
You know, we never really had money, but we had each other and we had everything that meant something that was about love and showed us camaraderie, manhood. Yeah. You know. So now let's move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You leave University of Pittsburgh and you now end up at the illustrious Howard University.
Right.
Tell us about that transition.
Well, Howard University was in all the newspapers. It was all in the black magazines, Essence, Ebony, you know, Jet. And so a lot of these esteemed African-American individuals in educational field, professional fields, business fields were graduating from HBCUs, and Howard was one of them. And so I got tired of complaining about, you know, black facilities and the lack of black power and the lack of black fraternity houses and parties and all that kind of stuff. At the University of Pittsburgh, we really felt like stepchild. And we would complain about it every single weekend. Unless we had a party that particular weekend where we had to rent out a center or something.
Well, let's face it, it was tailored to another culture.
Mainstream kids.
And the finances were brought in through the inner city culture, through their athletic abilities and things of that nature.
Basketball,
football. Those major programs, it keeps these state universities afloat. So when you get to your HBCU experience, now you can breathe.
Well, once I got to that level, I could leave the classroom without friction. And that was the main thing. I had a lot of friction at Pitt because I was a natural leader. I wasn't one of those quiet kids. I was going to speak up when I had something to say. And so once they noticed that, you know, you get that friction. Who's this black guy think he is? You know, that kind of thing. You get to Howard, everybody
thinks the same way.
And so it's not a problem.
Try to move forward.
And so now I can go ahead and be a leader, and that's why, you know, a lot of our leaders still come from African-American universities because they've had an opportunity to lead in the classroom without friction. And so now they expect to lead.
You know, my background is in education. I'm a 20-year public schools educator. Always working in what we would quote as the Badlands or our inner city. And I love it because I know that we have a role and a duty. But you know, it upsets me to see the direction of our youth and the direction that they're going as it relates to education. So in education, in education, right now, we have a problem where our students are not reading. Do you see that as an author and as an individual producing material?
Definitely, particularly boys. You know, boys are the worst readers, black and Hispanic boys. And so I even put out a program called 12 Brown Boys, which was a young adult book to make sure that we could get more boys involved in reading. And it was developed by me, put out by Scholastic Books, and we still had an issue with pushing that book as strongly as we wanted to. And so even though we're not in the full Jim Crow era, you know, we're not slaves anymore, they don't hide books from us and whip us for learning, we still have this block against reading as if it's something that's uncool, it's unmasculine, you know, it's not something that they want to do. And so we have to continue to enforce that, particularly with the boys. Some of the girls read a lot more, so a lot of my fan base of girls even though most of my books are actually masculine.
I was about to say, the majority of your book, your readers are females.
Yeah.
When it comes out to your...
Well, with all book writers, if you're writing fiction, which means if you're creating stories, women are the ones. Men typically gravitate to the factual, historical, nonfiction, which I look at all my books and say, it's history too. You know, I'm talking about the flag war era, when I'm talking about the drug era, when I'm talking about single moms and do-right men. That's history too. That's real.
Yeah, all of those stories was
so brothers have to get past that line of fiction, non-fiction, understand it's all about black people, understanding who we are as a cultural people.
You know, it alarms me the effects of technology and how it has on an inner city youth's educational attainment.
Right.
It is a hindrance because as a teacher or as an educator, we constantly are confronted with issues where we need to have, we have to put the phone down, sit it down. Kids are so .com is so instantly available, you know, information is so instantly available.
Right.
They don't have the patience to sit down and read a chapter. So we have to make them do this.
Right.
And the upsetting part is that the majority will not.
Right.
Everything is designed in seconds of an intro.
Right.
From whether it's watching television. Right. How long does the actual program last? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
22 minutes.
22 minutes, how about that? And then the rest is commercials, advertisement.
Right.
So you got chances to get up, walk around, but you can't sit down and stay focused.
Right.
What do you think is going to be what is your, I know your vision is to get things back into the book. How can we do it?
Right.
And what tools are you using to get to that?
Well, it's consistency. You know, I had a program called the Urban Literacy Project where I was teaching 5 key components of literacy: reading, writing, thinking, visualization, and application. Problem was, if I had to teach this to the teacher, immediately the school system said, well, we're going to have to set aside hours to do that, then they're going to have to memorize that. So immediately they looked at the workload and the payment load, and immediately said, "Oh no, that's too much." So that's the problem. You don't get the consistency of the program that you need to get them into literacy and to doing what they need on a regular basis, where they can't jump out of it. And so once they get that training, they become readers. That's how I became a reader. Comic books, over and over again, and then you end up reading a bigger book, and then you end up reading a novel.
Well, you know, and let's think about it. I used to have to come down to your house and say, "Hey, man, you got the S from the encyclopedia," when we had to do research.
Big old
who has the R? Oh, Chuck has the R, you know, something like that. So you know, but the fact was we had to search for our knowledge.
Right.
We didn't have to push a button.
Right.
That hurts us.
Right.
Because the standard functions of the young people today and things that we think that they should know or they do know, we take for granted and they really don't.
Right.
Fundamentals. Let's push forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You have always been an activist for our black people.
Yeah.
Politics has always stimulated your interests.
Right.
What do you think, how do you think the black politicians fare today opposed to those of the historical times of the past? And we culturally really read about history.
Right. Well, in an era where we've made so many progressive, movements, now some individuals feel like the work has been done. We got that president, I celebrated too, jumping up and down. I stayed up all night watching. But then we end up losing jobs and end up losing money and end up waiting on something to happen. And I'm not blaming the man, but it's just one of those things that happened when he came the president at the wrong time. And so we're still in trouble. And so you still got to look at it and say, hey, we still got work to do. Don't get too happy that we're in leadership positions that somebody voted for you. You still got work to do.
We still got work to do. Yeah. Well, and it's not a one-man fix-all situation.
No, not at all.
You can't change 500 years of a system in the course of 4 or a course of 8.
And that's why we still have
But what we do have to acknowledge is progress as a people. And for those who, I would say, the prominent few and not the trivial many, we rally for them. And we rally for that prominent few. Right. So we support all of our African American, our Latino, and our minorities who are trying to work for the cause. So you now are 25 years as a writer, successful, over 5 million books sold across worldwide.
2 million.
2 million is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I wish it was
sorry.
5.
Okay, 2 million.
Maybe we
hey,
do
look,
Marion
2
Barry
million.
book. Maybe that book will
And that's what I'm leading up to, because now you are with an icon, a legend, a historian. You know, it's funny, we coming from another state and not being a Washingtonian, how what we thought of Marion Barry versus what we know about Marion.
Right.
What brought you to him, and how did that come about?
Well, I came here and was a student at Howard University. So once I got here, I was already here, and I was already militant when I left Pittsburgh.
That's right.
And so I already understood when he got in trouble, I understood what the situation was. You know what I mean? It was set up from day one.
Right.
And so I wasn't one who was confused about it or apologizing. Of course, it was an embarrassing moment, but we all understood. The people that went to Howard University, wow, they went and got it. You know, so when I became a writer for his autobiography, I already understood that I want to tell the correct story and the full story in his words. And so that's what it was all about, getting the correction of what went down in his own words, and it took him a long while to do it. But now we have it documented in the book, and that's very important to be able to do that. And I'm happy that I have the skills to help him out in that way. And now I've become one of the protectors of his legacy. And I told him, you picked the right man for the job, because we ain't raised no punks.
That's right, that's right, brother.
We know how to be fighters.
We know how to be fighters,
So
and that's all we know how to do.
Position.
So was it difficult to get to him?
Not at all. I sat down, Zane invited me to a meeting with her, and she said, Omar, would you like to write the autobiography of Marion Barry? I said, what? Are you kidding me? And so by the time I showed up,
that you see on the late night television program, this is Zane who writes the love story novels.
You call them revolutionary love stories.
Yeah, revolutionary love story. So this is the legendary Zane that gave you this.
And so she invited me to do the book, and I said, definitely. I looked them up online so I could get a platform for how I would outline the book from his earlier life to his political life to his personal life, and tell the whole story, 360 degrees. And so I came with an outline the first time I sat down with him, and he looked through the outline and said, brother, this is impressive. I said, yeah, I'm a professional. You ain't dealing with some guy off the street now. I know how to do this. And so a lot of individuals had this idea that I'm a fiction writer, but I had to remind them I have a degree in print journalism. That's what I do. I'm writing about black people, investigating, interviewing, reporting, thinking about it, and then putting it in an organized form where it makes sense. And then you give it to the people so we understand who we are. And so I was ready for this.
Oh man, well, and it couldn't happen at a better time.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that I appreciated was it took for me to move to this DMV area and teach in the Washington D.C. school system to start to understand the Washingtonian.
Right.
And then initially I was stereotyping the brother, and I should not have. Because after I started to dig into his background and his biography, I was oblivious to his political activism in the '60s. I was oblivious.
And his education.
And his education started off as a chemist.
Degree. Yeah,
as a chemist.
In fact,
who would have thought?
He had everything but his PhD. He said he didn't take his dissertation because the civil rights got in the way. And he was already teaching other students in chemistry.
Right.
In fact, he was at Kansas teaching white students, and they didn't like that.
Right.
And we're talking about a man in his early 20s.
Can you imagine?
This is the man we're talking about.
So, and all is so true, because, NAACP Association, SNCC, that means he was with one of my mentors. When I was in school in Tennessee, I had a hell of an experience, and Kwame Ture, Brother Stokely Carmichael, he came and spoke, and me being president of the Student Black Union, we had brought him in to speak at this time, and it was him and Cornel West. And the question was, how come these school systems or this big university making so much money, all of this money off of you black athletes? How many of you actually had internships? I ended up getting an internship for Knox County Solid Waste Department. It lasted about the first paycheck. You know what I'm saying? But it was an opportunity for, it was a milestone of a great. So when you say Marion Barry, his fight has been not only in the streets, but it's been in his life. And the funny thing is, people look and say, okay, well, that 90s was vicious. But who wasn't it vicious for? You know what I mean? That 90s thing was an attack on a black man. I don't care what your title was. But then he was able to blow through adversity? You know, take the legal.
This was a brave process for him to go ahead and unwind his life.
Right.
Because I had to ask him some hard questions, and I had to drill him, and I had to get all the answers. And he had to be quite brave about it. And he opened up with a whole lot of things. And, you know, I can't say that he said everything because, you know, you definitely want to protect some of the things in your life that, you know, they get a little too touchy. You know, so I pushed him, and so it was a tug-of-war process. But I kept thinking to myself, how much of my personal life would I put in? You know, how comfortable would I be with these dark sequences that all we have? Yeah.
That so, you know have and always
very hard. And this man is 76. I'm only 45. You're about 47.
That's 40. Come on, man.
46.
I'm 45. I'm
man, come on, man.
45 going on 46.
You older than me.
About a couple months.
All right.
You know?
So I'm looking at that and saying, with all those years, how many different things in your personal life? But it's not about that. It's about the politics and the way you impact the people. That was his position. And so a lot of people didn't understand that, but I understood it. And dealing with the book and dealing with what was important as we continue to unveil his life. And so he's quite happy with the book, and we did a good job. You know, didn't do the complete job that I wanted to do, but of course, when you're a perfectionist, you always want more. And so he had to back me down and say, Omar, look, this is the book I would have put out. This is my life. You know, you would tell your life story, you tell it. So we went through those battles, but at the end of the day, I still greatly respect the man for all he's done, and I'm glad to be in a position where I can present his legacy and his autobiography to the world.
Well, brother, I tell you what, this is a match made in heaven that's actually happening on earth. So we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything else that you think you would like to say before we close out?
Well, you know, there's a couple other points I wanted to hit on. We talk about something called a post-racial America. Now we have young students who almost believe that we're in a position where whites and blacks can get along. And I'm fine with that. But don't forget that you still have to battle for your positions of power, your positions of opportunity, your positions of employment, your positions of moving up in corporate America. So don't get too buddy-buddy where you forget
from whence you came.
Yeah, we have to keep battling.
That's right.
So I did research on South Africa, and already the next generation after apartheid, they're so loosey-goosey that they've already forgot that they need to do more work to continue to be prepared for positions of power in South Africa. And we're talking about a couple of generations. And so I'm looking at us thinking, hey, this post-racial America, time out, slow down. Let's understand that we still have fighting to do. We still have some money to make. We still have positions of need and positions of power which we need to secure. And so with me doing this Marion book where he took 3% of African American contracts in this city and elevated to 47%. Those are the things that we need to continue to do. Oh, we can be buddy-buddy all day long. I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, I got to eat, feed my family, and have a household, send my kids to school, and everything else that everyone else does. And we got to make sure that we don't forget that. And so don't get buddy-buddy to the point where you just smiling and joking around and you not getting the job and not taking care of business. You know, we still got to be serious.
That's often a mentality of...
And so that whole post-racial America thing...
Hold me tight, let me go. In my heart, hurt my soul.
You never ever know your soul. Never know your heart.
Make me smile, make me frown.
Ain't no love in the heart of the city, this is what they tell me. Shit, I'm just waiting on somebody to show me. Ain't no love in the heart of the city, that's what they tell me.